Hello, I am Misty Gibson. I am a QDDP Quality Control Supervisor here at BSTC, and you are joining me for abuse and neglect training at our facility. Let me start sharing. So to start off this presentation, we have a quote here. I always wondered why somebody doesn't do something about that. Then I realized I was somebody. At our facility, and today you're going to learn that you have a voice here to be able to recognize something that doesn't seem right or correct. You might question it, and you're that somebody to do something about it. So, after today, you should have a better understanding of what to recognize that could be potential abuse and neglect, some definitions, and how to respond and what our process is here. So, what is abuse? Abuse is any action that intentionally harms or inquires or injures another person. Types of abuse include physical, psychological, sexual, verbal, and emotional. Some examples of that would be, let me go to the next page. For physical abuse, the definition there is any action intended to cause physical harm or pain, trauma, or bodily harm, such as hitting, slapping, punching, kicking, pinching. It includes the use of corporal punishment as well as the use of any restrictive, intrusive procedure to control inappropriate behavior for purposes of punishment. So you witness a coworker hit somebody over the head. Um, that is something that you're going to want to immediately separate the person and report it to a direct supervisor. Verbal abuse, any use of insulting, demeaning, disrespectful, oral, written, or gestured language directed towards and in the presence of the individual supported. So you're going to want to make sure that if anybody's using derogatory type language with an explanation of, describing the person inappropriately, that could potentially be abuse neglect. The thing that we like to remind people of that work here is if you have any doubt, if it could be potentially abuse neglect, if it's borderline, right, you're questioning it, you're going to want to talk to somebody about what you witnessed or heard. Physical injury is damage to bodily tissue caused by non-therapeutic conduct, including but not limited to fractures, bruises, lacerations, internal injuries, or discolorations, and shall include but not be limited to physical pain, illness, or impairment of physical function. Sexual abuse includes any incident where an individual supported is coerced or manipulated to participate in any form of sexual activity for which the individual supported did not give affirmation, permission, or without the understanding required to give permission. Sexual assault against an individual receiving services who is unable to defend him or herself. Mental and psychological. So for psychological abuse, that includes but is not limited to humiliation, harassment, threats of punishment, deprivation, sexual coercion, and intimidation. Essentially, living in fear in one's own home could be seen as that. Intimidation is something that, depending on how somebody may be posturing at home towards an individual, that could be seen as a potential abuse and neglect too. Since many individuals supported residing at our facility have developmental disabilities, they're unable to communicate feelings of fear, and humiliation associated with the abusive episodes. The assumption is made that any action that would usually be viewed as psychological or verbal abuse by a member of the general public would also be viewed as abusive by the individual supported residing at our ICF, regardless of an individual supported perceived ability to comprehend the nature of the incident. So what that means there is just you would still report it. And even though the individuals we support may not be able to understand that they're, that somebody's posturing over them to use it as an intimidation measure, we that work here can perceive it as intimidation or the humiliation or harassment or threats, right? Even if the people we support don't have the cognitive ability to do so too. Sexual exploitation includes, but is not limited to, in violation of Nebraska state statute listed there, causing, allowing, permitting, inflicting, or encouraging a vulnerable adult to engage in those things listed there, or obscene or pornographic photographing, filming, or depiction of the vulnerable adult. And then last there is individual supported to individual supported, which you'll commonly hear us use the term peer-to-peer for those type of incidents. And those are incidents or an event that occurs between somebody that lives here and another person that lives here. So aggression or any of these incidents towards each other. And it does not involve a teammate or a coworker, somebody that works here. It's two people that live here. What is neglect? Neglect is failure to provide goods and services necessary to avoid physical harm, mental anguish, or mental illness. Any knowing or intentional act or omission on the part of a caregiver to provide essential services or the failure of a vulnerable adult due to physical or mental impairments. To perform self-care or obtain essential services to such an extent that there is actual physical injury to a vulnerable adult or imminent danger, suffering physical injury or death. A teammate failure to intervene appropriately to prevent self-injurious behavior may constitute as neglect. So if you have somebody that you're working with and they're constantly hitting themselves in the head, you're going to want a body position, try to block, do interventions there to appropriately help stop them from hitting themselves. Now, you'll learn more in MANT and other trainings at our facility on what the appropriate measures are to do that. Also teammate failure to implement facility safeguards once we've had that peer-to-peer aggression may also constitute as neglect. So again, if you have a safeguard because of a peer-to-peer and you should be positioned between an individual and another individual to hopefully prevent them from aggressing towards another peer, you'll want to learn that appropriate body positioning to protect others. What is exploitation? Exploitation is taking improper advantage of an individual. It can involve finances, material, labor, or activity. So financial or material exploitation is improper or illegal or unauthorized use of an individual's funds or assets, which profit anyone besides the individual. Examples include cashing someone's checks without their permission, forging someone's signature, or stealing someone's money. We have a lot of individuals on this campus that carry their own pocket money, they go on trips. People here would not be able to purchase your meal for you or buy you a pop when you're at Casey's with their money. It may seem innocent, that they just want to do something good for you or help you out, but you have to deny that offer and just thank them for that thought, but don't accept it, right? The people that live here, as I said earlier, don't have at times the cognitive ability to know if somebody's taking advantage of them either. So although it may seem nice, they may not fully understand. The other side of this is the labor or activity exploitation. which is requiring an individual to engage in work or any activity which is improper, illegal, demeaning, or against the reasonable wishes of the individual. Examples include activities which are not part of an individual's written plan of care, or are not prescribed. Our roles. So I've already kind of started to talk about this a little bit, and as you're learning about what abuse, neglect, exploitation, all these definitions and examples are, you're going to start learning. Okay, how do I become that somebody to help prevent this from occurring? So we're the biggest advocates at this facility. We should be looking at the individual's worth, their rights, the dignity we provide them, and how we play that role in their life. And why, right, is roughly 2/3 of the individuals we support do not communicate verbally. So when you start thinking about the nonverbal population that we support, they don't have the ability to say what's going on. And we need to be that voice for them. Studies also show most individuals know their abusers. So those that are, closest to them, working with them, that percentage goes up, right? So be mindful of what we can do to help support. We protect because individuals may not know actions of others are wrong or illegal. So again, going into that cognitive ability, recognizing it or understanding that what this person working with them is doing is wrong. An individual may not be able to physically resist or fight back. So just, really make sure that you keep that in mind when you're working with others. Potential behavior for someone who is being abused. Uh, Sudden fear of being touched. Now, the thought process there is if somebody is getting hit during a shift, maybe behind closed doors when there's no other witnesses or nobody to know, the person's nonverbal. Maybe that person then starts displaying a little bit of where if somebody raises their arm by them, they kind of flinch. They have, or when somebody is coming in to touch their arm, they're flinching or representing that fear of being touched. Sudden onset of nightmares, sudden regression of childlike behaviors, sudden fear of bathing or toileting, and any unexplained change in behavior. Now, this is where first week, first few days, you're not going to know a lot of the individual's baseline behaviors or their common tendencies. So some people, do flinch when somebody's coming, but maybe it's because uh, they startle easily or it's their hearing or sight that's off. So they're recognizing somebody's coming into their area. And so maybe they tense up. But if that's routine and normal for that person, you're going to start recognizing that and you're going to know, okay, it's not a sudden fear of being touched, but they're easily startled because of whatever reasoning, right? Hearing, sight, things like that. So just know to ask a lot of questions. Is it typical for this person to be easily startled or, what is this person's cognitive ability? Uh, why do they have childlike behaviors? Maybe that is part of their developmental disability for some of the behaviors you're going to see them exhibiting. So mostly just really start to learn about the people you work with and reading their past histories and their ISP so you can get to know more about the person and how to best support them and to know what their behaviors are like at baseline. Ultimately, abuse is abuse is abuse. So we have the individual peer to peer, right? Individual to individual, the two people that live here. You're going to intervene between them and separate, keeping them safe and having nursing come evaluate and report it to a shift supervisor or a direct supervisor, whichever one's more available, if it's a home manager or DTSS. And then you have staff versus individual. As you can see there, it doesn't make any difference, right? Whether it's two people that live here or if it's somebody who works here and lives here, your steps are going to be the same. You're immediately going to intervene. You're going to step in and separate the people to prevent any further abuse and aggression from occurring. So that's always going to be your first measure, and then report. Which takes me into the fact that as a state of Nebraska employee, you are a mandatory reporter if you are suspecting, witnessing, informed of, read something to report that concern. So what we mean by each of those is suspect. There's a suspicion based upon information or from observation. So you kind of just are suspicious. You're kind of wondering, right? Uh, as I said earlier, if you doubt something, it's kind of borderline. Just report it. And then you're able to trust the process of letting ICF management investigate and do some initial looking into it. If you witness something, you either see or hear, you might hear something because the verbal abuse, right? Seeing it, if it's physical, and informed of. This is something sometimes people don't always think about. If you're being told about a situation, and whether you believe it or not that it happened, you can't just think to yourself, well, I know that person. I've worked with them many times. That probably didn't happen, and just dismiss it. You are going to want to go ahead and believe it and let ICF management determine what happened through their initial investigation. So even if somebody's just talking about it and it raises some of those red flags, that kind of sounds like it could be abuse, neglect, or exploitation, you're going to want to report. If you read something, that could be something that you read in therapy, in documentation. So even if it's a day late or whatever, once you read it, that's when you need to report it. Consequences of failing to report. So if you do fail to recognize something and it comes out later and you worked with that person, you're like, yeah, I did hear that or I did see that. It's it's not going to be essentially a career ending situation. More than likely, we're gonna work with you to say, okay, this is what um, we're viewing as abuse neglect. We might do some retraining with you. It may lead to your supervisor having a conversation with you of how you can do better of recognizing that in the future. Maybe a refresher of this class to say, these are the definitions, these are some examples, to just get you better informed to recognize it better in the future. So you would, in that situation, potentially be separated too until ICF management can further investigate it because you potentially also neglected to intervene. And so we got to separate you until we can maybe do some retraining or have a conversation to better prepare you for those future situations again. So I hope that makes sense. If you have a medical license, that may be reviewed. If you feel uncomfortable being a mandatory reporter, sometimes it's an uncomfortable situation to report one of your coworkers. And so you can anonymously call Adult Protective Services, which that number is listed there on the screen. And the only thing that we ask is if you anonymously report that you state that you're from BSDC and you did not report it to anybody at BSDC. This is going to trigger them to reach out to BSDC leadership and say that they have this anonymous report. If you don't do that, then there could be a further delay, right, in providing those safeguards to the individual because then we won't know to separate the person that you're reporting. You can also report to law enforcement. And the first step there that we want to encourage people to always do is just report it right away to BSCC ICF management. Those are going to be your shift supervisors, your home managers, the AOC, an ICF administrator. Get it to one of them so they can start doing their preliminary investigation. Immediate action. So you've already heard me say it, but you're going to hear it multiple times. So when you suspect, see, hear, read any potential abuse, neglect, exploitation, you're going to immediately intervene, ensure safety to that individual, separate the person, and immediately report. Now, some of this paperwork that I want to show you, this is information regarding once you've reported, these are some of the paper forms that you might be seeing brought to you by a shift supervisor. So just kind of making you aware that this is part of the process. Once you report something, you will be asked to do on the right here, this individual investigation statement. Right, so you're going to fill out the top, you're gonna put the today's date because you're reporting it today. You're going to put the time of the incident, roughly of in which it occurred, where, with who, all that information, and then you're gonna provide a narrative here. You're just gonna state, um, you know, on this date, approximately at this time, I was working with such and such who was supporting this individual, and we were going down to the Carson Center to the gym for a recreational activity. Once we got there, just spell out in good detail what you were doing a little bit before, during, and then after. So then that way, it gives a full story. All right. When you're done filling that out on these lines, it's going to be important that you also just do a signature at the end. And then I like to tell people to cross off any extra blank spaces at the end with just a big X or a line down through it to show that that was the end of your statement. The form here on your left of the screen is an investigation advisement form. Now, the purpose of this form is to inform you that BSCC's expectations regarding your participation, your obligations, and some options available to you as an employee involved in investigation. So this may be read to you if you are being reassigned and separated from client contact, from not being able to work with our individuals. And it just goes through the information of what to expect, what hours you might change to. So if you're a second and third shifter, you might be required to come work during first shift hours on Monday through Friday while you're being separated from client contact. Another part of this form here at the bottom is that we do not tolerate retaliation here at BSCC. So if we, see anybody participating in any of those retaliation type actions, we would hold them accountable for that. And this is a Garrity advisement form. And so we use this here if, the first two forms are kind of the preliminary investigation, and then it's going to get kicked over to our compliance specialist on our compliance team. And they are going to come out and they're going to interview you potentially about your written statement. They're going to say, I read your written statement. I have a few more questions, because they're doing a full investigation of the incident to determine or to help determine the outcome of what may have happened. So they'll bring this form to you when they're going to interview you, which just goes over that you essentially should be cooperative to answer their questions. If you don't answer questions, your supervisor may follow up with you for not um, being workable, essentially, with an ongoing investigation at our facility. But this is mostly also to that you have the right not to be compelled to incriminate yourself either. So it's different than like Miranda rights. Sometimes people think, oh, I'm being read like my Miranda rights. It's different than that. This is a Garrity advisement for the facility, just saying that you have that right not to incriminate yourself, but we need your assistance in answering our questions for our investigation. So as a quick review, uh, you witness a situation or suspect abuse and or neglect, that's when you're going to stop. You immediately intervene and ensure safety to the individual. All right. Uh, After you have separated and intervened and ensured safety, then you're going to report internally to an ICF leader, which would be your shift supervisor, a home manager, AOC, or ICF administrator. Um, right here, you do not report internally. What do? Right? You could call that APS number to choose to report anonymously. That is okay to do that. You just need to clearly express you have not reported this to the SEC internally. So then that way they can inform us and we can separate and do our next steps. All right. So overall, I just want to thank you for your time, for listening to me go over this information and show you forms. Uh, there is a quiz with this training as well. So at that time, you may be asked to fill out a quiz and turn it in to our training coordinator on campus. All right. So again, thank you for your time and have a great day.